Amelia clutched the key. It was cold and heavy in her hand. Her new apartment. In this sprawling city, it felt like a victory. The building was old with ornate carvings around the doorway, but it was beautiful. Grand. Amelia, a budding artist, craved inspiration. This building whispered stories untold. She stepped inside. The air was cool and musty, untouched for years. Dust motes danced in the sunlight filtering through grimy windows. But Amelia saw potential. She saw spacious rooms and high ceilings. She saw herself painting in the warm afternoon light. Excitement bubbled in her chest. This was a new beginning, a chance to chase her dreams. The city thrummed outside, a constant hum. But here, in this apartment, there was peace. Or so she thought. The first few days were blissful. Amelia unpacked, arranged, and rearranged her furniture. She sketched the view from her window, a jumble of rooftops and chimneys against the smoky sky. At night, the city lights twinkled below, but slowly things began to change. At night, Amelia heard scratching sounds. They seemed to come from within the walls. Soft, insistent, like tiny claws scraping on wood. She told herself it was rats. Old buildings had them. Then there was the smell. It started faintly. A musty, earthy odor that clung to the hallway outside her apartment. It brought to mind damp earth and something else. Something metallic, unpleasant. The lights flickered, sometimes just for a moment. Other times they dimmed, plunging the hallway into eerie half-light. Amelia felt a prickle of unease. This was more than old wiring. This building held secrets. One afternoon, Amelia bumped into the building superintendent. He was a gaunt man with a shock of white hair and eyes that seemed too big for his face. His name was Mr. Hemlock. "You're the new tenant," he rasped, his voice like dry leaves. "Amelia, isn't it?" Amelia was taken aback. "Yes," she said cautiously. "How did you—" "Word travels fast," Mr. Hemlock chuckled, his eyes never leaving her face. He seemed to know things, too much. An unsettling feeling crept over Amelia. She offered a polite smile and hurried past him. She couldn't shake off the feeling of his eyes on her back. His presence lingered in the hallway, a chill that had nothing to do with the old building. The scratching in the walls grew louder. The smell was stronger now, almost overpowering. Amelia's unease morphed into fear. One evening, drawn by an unknown force, she found herself in the basement. It was a cavernous space, filled with cobwebs and shadows. Dust lay thick on the floor, undisturbed for years. A single bare bulb cast a weak light, making the shadows dance. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest. She should go back, but something made her stay. She noticed an outline on the wall, barely visible beneath the grime. It was the outline of a door that had been concealed, plastered over, and hidden. Curiosity, mixed with a growing dread, compelled Amelia to investigate. Section 5. The Collector's Lair. With trembling hands, Amelia chipped away at the plaster. The outline of the door became clearer. Finally, she managed to pry open a section, revealing darkness beyond. A gust of that metallic, unpleasant smell hit her. Amelia gagged. Summoning all her courage, she pushed the door open. It creaked open on rusty hinges, revealing a small, dusty room. And in that room, Amelia saw the horrifying truth. The floor was covered in glass cases. And inside those cases, bodies. Perfectly preserved, posed like grotesque dolls. Men and women, their faces frozen in eternal screams. Amelia stumbled back, a scream trapped in her throat. These were Mr. Hemlock's secrets, his collection. A floorboard creaked behind her. Amelia whirled around to see Mr. Hemlock standing in the doorway. His face was illuminated by the dim light, a grotesque mask of fury. "You shouldn't have seen that," he hissed. Amelia didn't hesitate. Adrenaline surged through her veins. She pushed past Mr. Hemlock, scrambling back through the hidden door. She slammed it shut behind her, the sound echoing in the silent basement. She ran, her lungs burning, her heart pounding against her ribs. The musty air of the basement choked her, but she couldn't stop. She had to get out. Mr. Hemlock was close behind her, his footsteps heavy and fast. Amelia burst out of the basement door and into the dimly lit hallway. She could hear Mr. Hemlock's rasping breath close behind. Panic lent speed to her feet. She raced up the stairs, her hand trailing along the rough wall for balance. He was faster, stronger. She reached her floor, her chest heaving. She fumbled for her keys, her fingers clumsy with fear. Mr. Hemlock's shadow fell across the hallway. He was close, too close. The key jammed in the lock. Amelia swore under her breath. She could hear Mr. Hemlock's triumphant chuckle behind her. There was nowhere left to run. Amelia turned to face her pursuer. He was upon her in an instant. She lashed out, her fist connecting with his jaw. He staggered back, momentarily surprised. It was her only chance. She shoved past him, her shoulder slamming into his chest. He cried out, more in surprise than pain. Amelia didn't look back. She ran, her lungs screaming for air, her legs leaden with fatigue. The front door of the building was in sight. Freedom. She could hear Mr. Hemlock's heavy footsteps pounding behind her. He was gaining on her. Amelia threw herself against the door. It swung open. The city lights blinded her after the oppressive darkness of the building. She stumbled out onto the sidewalk, gasping for breath. The sounds of the city washed over her. Traffic, music, distant sirens. All sounds of life. She risked a glance back. Mr. Hemlock stood in the doorway, his face unreadable in the shadows. He didn't follow. He simply watched her. Amelia turned and fled into the anonymity of the city. The night swallowed her. The sounds of the city faded into a dull roar. Amelia had escaped with her life, but the silence of that old building and the secrets it held would forever haunt her dreams.